So, hi and welcome to The Whiteout, your ultimate guide to skiing. I'm here, Dom Killinger from In the Snow magazine, and I'm here with...
Yeah, hi Dom, Rob Stewart here. As always, I'm sort of deep in some kind of winter sports news story at the moment, one way or another.
You wouldn't want it any other way, would you, Rob?
Definitely not. We live for winter, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's right here, isn't it? So just for any new listeners out there, we're going to come every 2 weeks with a brand new podcast, which will cover where can we ski now, so where the best snow is right now, what's hot in the news, which you're always great at, Rob. You always come with some great stories for us. And I didn't know you could ski there, places we wouldn't immediately associate with going skiing.
Yeah, that's right, Dom. And we will also have a gear spotlight where we look at the gear that's caught our eye recently. Skiing on a shoestring, trying to find ways of skiing without busting our budget and then blow your budget. And finally, we look at anything amusing and nice that we found in the last couple of weeks.
We'll also be doing our bonus episodes. Last week, we released about how to buy your first pair of skis, which is always nice, getting people out buying their own skis and taking those on holiday with them.
Absolutely. And next week, we have Ski Scotland special episode, which is your ultimate guide to skiing in Scotland. Got to do it.
You know what, Rob? It's certainly something. The minute we post anything about Scotland on YouTube or on social media, it's so popular. I wonder how many of those people have actually done it, and I wonder how many people are just intrigued and fascinated by skiing in our own United Kingdom.
I think it's time we both go up to Scotland together. I mean, I've skied in Scotland a lot over the years. Try and go up every winter for sure.
Oh, I'm impressed. One thing we can't carry on without talking about, we are both just out of the snow show from last weekend at the NEC. So that was a good event. How did you feel?
Yeah, I think it was a great event. Possibly a little short for my liking. There's plenty of positives though. Overall, I thought it was a great event.
Yeah, being 2 days long, it does feel short. And those days were quite short. I felt, especially on that Saturday, potentially for that to go on to sort of 8 or 9 o'clock at night, there was potential for that and have a bit more après for people to really take part in it.
I mean, those guys know what they're doing and they know how to run events. So sure. I personally enjoyed that Battersea setup in the fact that you could do what you wanted to do in the day and then it was extended into the evening and you could kind of go upstairs or outside and have a drink with your friends, catch up with loads of people and sort of chill out and have some good conversations.
Yeah, and it was good seeing some of the big brands back, seeing Norway and France Montagna and Ingham's there and Crystal. So some nice big names there and some big ski brands as well with Salomon had a nice decent size stand there, and it's good seeing those big names back at the shows, isn't it?
It's really good seeing those brands at the show. I was there on the Saturday with my family and my 13-year-old daughter, and she took to the slope and she took to that skateboarding park that they had set up there, and she did all of that and she loved all of that. That was brilliant. Yeah. The kids these days, if you're into skiing and snowboarding, you're going to be into one of those skating or scootering as well. So I don't have any problems with that.
Do you think they'll bring back big air indoor and that sort of thing? Do you think that'll come back?
Yeah, it's a great spectacle, isn't it? And it's a big debate about what a show should be, what a ski show should be. I think for the consumer, they want a bit of both of those things.
And of course, there was a pretty big announcement there, wasn't it, about starting a London version of that same show. So they're doing a whole week-long snow week, starting with the NEC at Birmingham and finishing at London XL. So that's pretty exciting for not just the industry, but for consumers as well, isn't
it? I think it's great that they're launching that London show.
It'll be interesting to see what goes on during that week.
Yeah, definitely. So, Dom, where can we ski right now?
Well, there are a few places, Rob, as we talked about last week, a number of the glaciers that are open. October certainly hasn't been the big snowfall month that we were all hoping it might be. Temperatures are still a little on the warm side, but we have seen some positive signs of snowfall being reported in the Alps and across Western North America. Need I tell you, Rob, some snowfall arrived in Solden, one of the glacier ski areas already open for the 22-23 season in the Alps. You've just come back from there. Did you see evidence of this new snowfall in Solden?
So there was some fresh snowfall on the glacier. That definitely freshened things up a bit above, I would say, above 2,500 metres.
So that saw the women's GS was due to be staged on Saturday, wasn't it? And that got cancelled. It sounded like the good news was that the men's race did happen on the Sunday, and we've got some pretty exciting news about that later.
Yep.
So a little bit of untimely warm weather has meant that the first ever cross-border World Cup downhill race at Cervinia-Zermatt for next weekend is currently off.
Yeah, fortunately, both of those races are cancelled.
That's a shame, isn't it? But there has been widespread winter weather reported across North America, which is good news. Very heavy in Alberta as well, and Arapahoe Basin. gets Colorado's 22-23 season underway already this week. So that's pretty exciting.
That sounds good to me, because I am off to the United States quite early January. So sounds good.
Hopefully we will hear of some snowfall across the Alps very soon, some bigger snowfall that we can report on, because it would be good to see that kicking into action, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I have heard they're a bit cooler in Norway and Scandinavia. And obviously they had a decent summer skiing season as well compared to the Alps. So the glaciers were still in good condition. And of course, they tend to get colder weather sooner anyway. They have had a little bit of snow. I don't think it's dumping it there at the moment, but I do think it's definitely getting cooler.
Well, hopefully in future podcast episodes I will be raving about dumping snow, and I won't be able to have time to list the number of resorts with heaps of snow landing for us. So.
No doubt.
So, Rob, with that as our roundup of snow conditions at the moment, what about news?
Yeah, so obviously the World Cup did kick off this last weekend in Solden. I was lucky enough to be there. As we've said before, the women's race on the Saturday was cancelled due to bad weather, wet snow, and it was causing problems. And there was a big question mark over the men's race for the Sunday, just because they were unsure if they could get the slope hard enough for those giant slalom races on the Sunday. But they managed to do it, and the weather cleared up, and it was a brilliant race. I was there with Helly Hansen and the Norwegian ski team. The news there is that they've just secured a massive sponsorship with Helly Hansen, the Norway team. I was hanging out with those guys, and actually I caught up with the likes of Henrik Kristoffersen, and I asked him whether he would do better this season. In other words, would he come first instead of second? But I also asked him about Dave Riding's win last winter in Kitzbühel, because his reaction was quite special. Yeah. And this is what he had to say about that. You're talking to a predominantly UK audience here. So, last winter we watched our famous skier David Riding winning in Kitzbühel, of course. And the scenes were really nice to see, because, along with a few other guys, you especially were one of the first people to congratulate him on the win there. Yeah. And that was great. I mean, how do you feel about... What does that make you feel when you see someone from a country like UK? We get told all the time that we can't ski, and yet someone wins a World Cup race.
I think it's great for the sport. I think diversity in the people who are skiing is great. And when you have Dave there, who I've known for so many years, and I've skied so much with Dave and trained a lot with Dave, I think it was a great thing. If I didn't win, I think it was great that Dave won. Of course, I always want to win. But being on the podium together with Dave in his first win was a big deal for sure. Not, of course, for him the biggest deal, but it was also a big thing for me as well to be there on the podium with him, because we spent a bit of time together on the slopes together. So and he's a great guy. So that was really cool.
That was a great interview. So, I also caught up with Charlie Raposo whilst I was in Solden. Had a great interview with Charlie, and you can catch that on a separate podcast. It's about 15 minutes long. But he also talks about the funding and the funding issues that they're facing, the team is facing at the moment. And he talked a little bit about GB Snowsports, and we're just going to hear that section now.
Obviously, since funding was being cut recently, that's obviously going to give you a massive boost then.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I wasn't there, this situation with British skiing and GB Snowsport is very bad. Yeah. We won't dive into it too much today, because there's not much more to say to it other than that there's mismanagement across the board as to how they're trying to sell Alpine and take that vehicle and move that forward and bring in commercial money. Yeah. You're here in Solden. You've seen everything that's going on. You've seen this sport is healthier and more lucrative than ever. Yeah. Right?
It's incredible.
When you've got a 5 or 6 athlete team scoring World Cup points at the level that they are in Great Britain, and you see the excitement around British ski racing when you're at events, you can make some money out of it. So that's all I'll say on the matter. Yeah. I'm super lucky and fortunate to be at Van Der Red Bull Sports, where I have a serviceman from the company. Right. I have a load of other resources that come my way. Yeah. So my dependency on GB Snowsport is obviously still very much there. Of course. They're still the governing body that run my program. Yeah. But I am not drowning right now, I suppose.
I mean, there's obviously an opportunity, right, for brands. You talked about how successful this sport is, and you can see it here in Solden in the press conferences, the amount of people, the amount of exposure the sport gets.
Yeah, I don't believe we're being sold in the right way as an Alpine unit.
Yeah.
We have a CEO that's never come to a World Cup race. She's been CEO for 4 years. Sorry,
Right.
but that's a statement that I'm just willing to put out there now. How can you understand the sport if you don't come and see it? Like, the hype that exists within
I find that quite
sport.
incredible, actually.
Yeah. The hype that exists within this sport and the energy, it's a mini Formula One. You've seen that.
Yeah, sure.
You're seeing it here.
Yeah.
This is not like any of the other winter sports that exist, except for maybe the X Games.
Yeah, so it was really interesting from Charlie, and I think he really felt that those points had to be made.
Great chance for you to get sat in front of him. So that was really good news, Rob. So it's definitely an interesting podcast to listen to for anybody who'd like to hear the full interview.
So we've just talked about the downhill races in Zermatt and Cervinia. Those men's and women's events on subsequent weekends have been cancelled. It's very disappointing for the International Ski Federation. Yeah. They're coming under some fire for arranging races like that so early in the season. I mean, it was always a bit of a risk, but this is the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And they probably realised that actually there wouldn't be a lot of fresh snow, but they planned on making a lot of snow, but they had some issues with that because of the warmer temperatures as well, combined with the lack of snow.
Yeah.
And I think that has really, and there were some other things going on with the glacier, and it was very tricky. So they had to cancel those two races.
I can imagine the cost as well.
Yeah, the cost and all of the disappointment for those resorts as well. Also on other news, I've seen Graham Bell has signed up with a Finnish clothing brand, Halti. Halti probably isn't quite as well known here in the UK, but it's been around a long time. So let's see how that develops and how much Halti we start seeing. The other bit of news, I've heard that some of the indoor slopes in Europe are planning to actually close down because they use enormous amounts of energy, especially in Germany. There's one or two in Germany that have said they're going to close. Most of them are staying open though. And ski resorts are universally saying they will definitely be operating pretty normally. I mean, there might be some exceptions to that here and there, but that's the kind of standard thinking right now. If you work in the financial sector in the City of London, you can participate again in the City Ski Championships, which has been relaunched between February 3rd and the 5th in Crans-Montana.
Plenty of men in Lycra that shouldn't be in Lycra there.
Yes, absolutely.
Us included.
Well, yeah, and there's plenty of people at World Cup ski races, as I saw this weekend in Solden, that like to dress up themselves in Lycra and go skiing on the mountain and think that they are World Cup racers, but obviously they're not.
I would have to get one of those muscle bodysuits underneath mine, I think.
If you have to get a muscle bodysuit under yours, Dom, then I think I'd probably have to have 3 muscle bodysuits under mine. So gear-wise, Dom, has anything caught your eye this week?
It has. When you say caught my eye, it really did catch my eye. In case listeners don't know of the brand, I am talking Oosc, which is OOSK, Oosc clothing, which are one of these fun, funky one-piece ski suits, which, to be honest, seems to be all the rage at the moment. I've started seeing them on the slopes quite a bit, and I've known these guys for a little while. They are a pair of annoyingly good-looking young lads that are ex-university pals that have suddenly grown up to be serious business partners, and they properly burst onto the scene. I mean, I think you and I probably saw them at ISPO, 3-4 years ago, I would guess, but they're kind of that new wave of marketing where it's throw out all the old marketing ideas. They seem to somehow be well known by everybody. They're at all the right parties to be seen at, but they've also got great gear, great business head. They know exactly what they're doing. And what brought them to the front of my mind for this podcast today was seeing them at the National Snow Show. They don't turn up with a piece of shell scheme stands and a poster and a pull-up banner. They turn up with a bright pink storage container unit, one of these big metal container units. I'm sure you saw it. Craned into the middle of the show, massive great Oosc logo around the back of it, DJs on the front of the stand, beer ping pong competition. What else would you do on your stand, obviously? On a serious front, great gear, very exciting. I saw you try to put one of the ladies' suits on. It is cool gear. It had to be done, didn't it? But it is cool gear, and people seem to love this stuff. It's real retro one-piece ski suits, bright colours, and look fantastic.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love putting that suit on. Not the women's one, which obviously I realised that as I was trying to pull it over my legs wasn't quite right. But once I got hold of a men's version, felt really comfortable. And actually, our listeners, of course, could check out the video we made at the National Snow Show. Luckily for them, see me wearing that bright pink, white, purple, multicoloured one-piece suit that kind of looks like it should come out of the 80s in some ways, but in other ways, it's sort of bang up to date as well.
Yeah, absolutely right. And you know what? It isn't just cool clothing, but it's fully eco-friendly, fully sustainable. So by no means of a joke of a clothing brand. It's a proper UK brand. It's great seeing that happening.
Yeah, and it's pretty technical. I think they've launched some new jackets this season that are, 2020 waterproof breathability jackets and about as technical as you need on the ski slopes. So they're not just a pretty face.
We'll have more information about them in the notes, so people can go off and check Oosc clothing online. Yep. That's my chosen brand of the week.
That's nice. You, Rob? It's a nice one. Yeah, EcoSki, which is actually a retailer. It's an online retailer that are sustainable ski clothing specialists, if you like, and they are exclusively selling, it's a new product from Icebreaker, jacket and pants that are made from merino wool. I've been taking a look at it and it looks like a technical ski jacket, but it's made completely with natural products. Okay. And there's no plastic product in it at all. Wow. So I think this is pretty unique. It's not a cheap product. The jacket retails for £570 and the pants are £435. Okay. But the cool thing is you can also rent it from EcoSki for £95 for 8 days. I mean, it sounds a lot in a way, but at the same time, if you buy a ski jacket and you only wear the ski jacket for skiing, that kind of makes a financial sense if you're going to pay £570 for a jacket, but you're going to rent it for £95. I get that. Of course, if you buy a jacket and you use it a lot, I'd probably invest in the jacket. I like the idea of the merino wool outer. I'm looking forward to maybe seeing one. Icebreaker, it's a merino wool brand and they are specialists in base layers and now going into the outer market as well. So
keep a lookout for it then.
Yep.
In the meantime, Rob, you always take a look at skiing on a shoestring, how people can save a bit of money with skiing. We do like to offer a few budget saving tips. I know that one of the things has been a little deal for over New Year. What do you know about
that? So Ingham's are offering an extra £100 off of their New Year ski holiday bookings. The offer's only available until the 31st of October.
Okay. Yeah.
Got to get on with that. And the £100 savings applies to all of Ingham's 7-night European December departures, dates across the company's ski products, the Lapland, Santa breaks, and only excludes Canada ski holidays. That in itself is fine, but they've got some pretty good prices on when you look at it as well. Yeah. I mean, a price for a 7-night self-catering holiday starts from £449 per person in France based on 2 adults sharing, or £499 per person for a bed and breakfast holiday in Austria, flying from London. That includes flights and the accommodation and B&B.
Wow. That's fantastic value.
It is.
Great deal. I mean, previously, New Year was a very expensive time to get out to go skiing, even just a few years ago. I think it's to do with the way the dates are falling this year, isn't it? Because of the dates they go out, they can't quite get the flights back in time for school holidays. And I think that's why we're probably seeing some pretty good deals at the moment on New Year. And I think Ingham's aren't the only ones that are offering that. There are some good deals out there to be had over New Year. So they're talking about £100 saving for departures on the 26th of December or the 31st of December. It's pretty good, isn't it?
But what about the other side of it, Don? What about blowing your budget at the moment? What have you found that you might be able to spend your hard-earned cash on?
Yeah, this time it's not a holiday, Rob. I tell you, I have followed a brand called PFD, Pure Freeride Design. And this is a guy that makes bespoke, handmade bamboo freeride skis. He's pretty much started out in his back shed. He was doing a degree in product design at university, but he was also an obsessive freeride skier. So he started out in 2012. He finished his design degree. He was obviously massively into freeride skiing, and he started creating these bespoke bamboo skis, and then he moved into snowboards as well. And they are just a thing of beauty. I mean, it's the sort of thing that I think even if I wasn't a skier, I'd probably want a pair to put on my wall. They are £1,400 a pair, which in the grand scheme of things, actually, I feel is a bit of a snip, because If you're going to buy a decent pair of skis, they're going to be heading on £1,000 anyway, aren't they? But £1,400 for a beautiful, bespoke made pair of bamboo skis.
Well, you know what? I did see them at the snow show, and I saw Rupert, but I got to let you know that a few years ago, I even went to his back shed garden workshop to see him making those PFD skis.
Wow.
So that was really cool. That was really cool. Yeah. Top secret location. Yeah, I could not possibly tell you where it is. But they are made in the UK, and it's just such a nice process to see that happening.
He really is the type of craftsman that they're just hard to come by nowadays. That real creative, that real bare hands, it's quite incredible to see nowadays, isn't it?
I mean, he's got some pretty cool kit in his workshop where he makes the skis, and but he basically does it all himself. But it is, the process of making them is really amazing.
PFD skis, we'll put those in the notes of this podcast for people to go and check out. It's well worth having a look at. So, Rob, on the other hand, you also often blind us with ski resorts that we never even knew was a ski resort. So what have you got for us this week in terms of places we didn't know we could ski already?
Yeah. I've always got to think of these places, but I did remember a few years ago, I visited some of the ski resorts in Kazakhstan, the Central Asian country. I think it's the 7th largest in the world.
Wow.
But it's huge. But on that southern edge, it's former capital city of Almaty. It sits on the Tian Shan mountain range.
Okay.
I mean, it's a spectacular mountain range. It's basically like an extension of the Himalayas. Okay. And they're very high, 4,000 meter peaks rising up above the city on one side.
Goodness.
And it is spectacular. And then from Almaty, you can easily get up to the resort of Shimbalak. It's a pretty modern little resort. It's got its own accommodation up there as well, hotels and apartments. You can stay up there. There's about 20 kilometers of slopes there. The lifts are pretty modern. And the skiing goes right up to above 3,000 meters. It can get pretty cold in the winter. They don't actually get a huge quantity of snow. I would say Kazakhstan's not your powder skiing destination, really. Because it gets very cold, but it's very dry. So they'll get the snowfalls, and that snow, they will keep that snow for a long time. But it is quite a dry climate because you're right on the edge of this huge, vast, sort of almost Siberian plain that stretches across Kazakhstan and into Russia. Almaty is a pretty good base. It's quite a cosmopolitan city. I enjoyed walking around Almaty, and I felt very safe there. I wouldn't say the food is for the faint-hearted generally. I mean, I was given a lot of horse meat when I was there. I mean, I was, to be fair, on quite an organised tour, and I think every meal was a bit like, this is our national dish. Like after a week, I've had your national dish like 7 times 2 now.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. It's delicious, and I really appreciate your hospitality. But yes, I think possibly that not every meal is sort of roasted horse. I also discovered that on the top floor of my hotel, after being there for about 4 or 5 days, there was a brothel. So that seemed quite normal to them. So there was, there's sort of interesting things like that suddenly pop up.
Annoying at the end of the week.
Yes. Well, I just went up there for the view of the city because it was one of the highest buildings in town.
Of course.
The view I got was slightly different to what I was expecting at the end of the day. What about Dom? Have you found anything nice this week?
Always finding something fun and nice. One of the things I heard about this week was the Shepherdess of the Stars, Rob. I mean, this doesn't come with a better brand than Shepherdess of the Stars on a French chairlift. So this is the ski resort, probably not particularly well-known ski resort, which is Le Collet d'Alvard, located in the Isère region of France. Great for people who like their night skiing, not just après skiing, but actual night skiing, because they have a number of ski runs that are floodlit, which is pretty cool. But you can also use the chairlifts for nighttime stargazing with the Shepherdess of the Stars, which is a lady called Nadej, who shares her passion for astronomy with family. So she jumps on that chairlift, takes you up to where it's far away from any light pollution, and you get a 90-minute telescope viewing of the star-strewn sky. Feels fantastic, doesn't it? I'm loving it. I mean,
I'm sometimes quite cynical. I'm sometimes quite cynical about these sort of gimmicky things that ski resorts do and that happen in ski resorts. But actually, that does sound pretty cool. I would do that. I would drag myself away from the après ski and the nice meals and the glass of red wine that you have after a day skiing, and I'd go for that. Definitely.
I think you could do that, and then you could go and do the night skiing. So you can still have your glass of wine and a bit of dancing. You can then go and do this, and then still come back and have an evening. I'm
not sure if I'd have the energy for the shepherdess and the dancing afterwards, but I know what you mean.
Have you found anything fun and fabulous this week?
On a very different kind of theme. I did see something this week, but from a company called Oosc, and they make helmet covers in the shape of fluffy animals.
You're going to love that, Rob. You're going to look fantastic.
I mean, personally, I don't think I would want to be seen dead wearing one. But, they do look like a lot of fun. They do. And there's loads of designs. There are rabbits and flamingos and dinosaurs. And they've even got a separate range with things like police helmets with flashing lights on them. Oh, wow. There's a luxury option with faux fur as well. So I was going to say something for everyone, but maybe not quite everyone. But yeah.
I guess pretty good for spotting your kids on the slopes, isn't it? I guess if yours is the one with the dinosaur or the flamingo on their hat, then you are going to stand out and you're going to be able to spot your kids from a distance. So I guess there's a bit of a safety angle there.
Yeah, definitely. For kids, I think they're brilliant. They do market them for adults as well. And I think there's probably plenty of adults that want to stand out and wear fluffy things on their head. That'll be fine. And, let's face it, helmets are not always the most exciting looking things.
So that's all this week, Rob. Where are you off to next? Anywhere exciting on your agenda?
Birmingham. On Friday, but I am going to meet up with David Riding.
Dave Riding. How exciting. That's going to be great. Can't wait to hear about that. So make sure you listeners out there, if you're loving what we're doing, then make sure you subscribe, tell your ski pals, and interact with us in any way you'd like. Check out our show notes if there's anything you'd like to take an extra look at. And you can also check out InTheSnow.com or InTheSnow Mag on Insta, Facebook, YouTube. Yeah. Thank you very much for everything this week, Rob. It's been good to chat as usual. Until next time.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dom. Been great fun as always. See you next time.
Good stuff. Adios.